you are blessed beyond your wildest imagination and don't know it. Because the world that I grew up in, my testimony is not wondering where my next meal was going to come from.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be the journey.
The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey.
The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have a Memphis icon that I know you're going to love. But before we get to this Memphis icon, let me give you a little quote. The quote comes from Marion Wright Edelman, and it goes like this. You're not obligated to win. You're obligated to keep trying to do the best you can every day. And what's that mean? That means you might not always be successful. You might fall down, skin your knees, bump your head, but you got to keep going every day. That's mandatory, because that's what we made of. So listen, this gentleman, Bishop Ed Stevens, Golden Gate Full Gospel Baptist Church. He's a pastor. He's an entrepreneur. The Golden Gate Development Corporation. But more importantly, he's a son, a husband, father, and a visionary leader. Oh, and I forgot. He's a member of the Crimson and Cream. He's of that gang, the men of Kappa Alpha Psi. So he's my frat brother. But better than that, he's got 3 noobs in his house. Well, they ain't in his house no more. They done went on. But nevertheless, without further ado, Bishop
Larry,
Ed Stevens.
Thank you, man. Good to be here. Absolutely.
How you doing, man?
Listen, we on top telling the Lord ta-ta. He's good. Yeah. I arrived to your world, so I know I have arrived.
You arrived. Okay. All right, then. Well, shoot, man. I'm honored to have you here,
Thank you for the invitation. Absolutely.
You have been someone that I have looked up to since my early days in Memphis, man. So
thank you.
So keep doing the great work you're doing in the Raleigh area and whatnot. But we gonna try to give people some background on the brother.
All right.
So, I know you went Valentine, Snowden and then Treadwell. So you ran that North Memphis, straight out of Memphis.
Straight out of, no, I say North.
Yeah.
There is a North Memphis. There's a North Memphis and there's a North Memphis.
Okay.
I was in North. Let's be clear.
Okay, all right then. Okay, so let's talk about those early days in North Memphis. What do you remember about the neighborhood? Tell me about the neighborhood you grew up.
Listen, we were really blessed. Of course, my mom and dad. It was 2 of us, my brother and myself. And my mom was a teacher. My father was, of course, a pastor. Okay. As well as worked for the Postal Service.
So your mom was a pastor?
No, my father.
Your father was a pastor?
Father was a pastor. Mom was a teacher.
Okay.
Mom was a teacher in school system, and my dad pastored Oak Grove Baptist Church on 64. Okay. And so my brother and myself, and so we grew up, I guess you would call it, middle class African American family and that kind of thing. So I had a lot of positive memories about growing up in the community that we did. I recall clearly we were probably the second African American family to move on our street. It was a Jewish community. They moved out and blacks were moving in, and I remember all those days.
Oh, wow.
Real well.
So who outside of your parents had the biggest impact on young Ed Stevens?
I was always around people. Okay. So I don't think there's one other person when I was young that had an influence. When I started preaching, and who I saw that really helped shape me for what I do now was my pastor, Archbishop Leroy Bailey. He was Pastor Leroy Bailey, pastored his first cathedral church, but he's from Memphis.
Now you said you the other son.
Yeah, I am.
I got to do my research now. I got to do my research.
I'm the other son. I claim that title. With my pastor for sure.
Yeah, all his kids are looking at you what's wrong with this dude? He ain't one of us.
They know. If they don't accept it from anybody, they accept it from me. Okay. Yeah, so it was through his life. Okay. And just watching him from afar, and then I heard him, he was in town preaching a revival, and I invited him to my church, and thus, really, our relationship mushroomed. Okay. And I needed that in my life at that time. Of course, my grandfather was a pastor. Oh. And my dad was killed in a car accident going to a wedding in 1972. I was 12 years old. Would have been turning 13. So, but my grandfather, my mom's dad was a pastor also.
Okay.
And so a couple of years later, we went to serve with my grandfather.
Right.
That's actually where I started ministry. I preached my first sermon at my grandfather's church.
Okay.
New Fellowship Baptist Church on Brown. Right, it's a little small church right behind. It's torn down now. It had a fire, but it was right behind Northside.
So wait a minute, you got like 4 pastors. So
it's more. That's 5 generations altogether.
Yeah.
Yes, 5 generations. I go back past him to my great grandfather, my grandfather, my father, myself, and now my sons.
How different are you from the person you dreamed you'd be as a kid?
Quite different, I want to think.
Okay.
I want to hope that I have grown immensely and my mind is stretched.
So did you see yourself as a musician, an athlete, or any of that?
I was not the athletic type. I was in the drama club.
Okay.
And Miss Florence Roach was my speech and drama teacher.
Wait a minute, Flo Roach is
Flo Roach, Doc, taught me.
Oh man,
Without
you know
doubt.
that. See now, when you come back, Flo might be here now.
Yeah.
Flo is doing a lot of work.
I owe a lot to her because as far as public speaking and things of that nature, going through my drama courses and all that, and going to the Thespian Association in Washington, D.C. So my mind expanded. Yeah, absolutely. When I was in 11th grade, so she was my teacher.
So you was going to be a star.
I don't know what I was going to be. I was fitting. I was finding my way at that time for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, but my pastor was really influential in my life as far as the career that I'm in now, without a doubt. You know, I had my grandfather there, but we was generations apart that I could relate to and do ministry on another level than what I had seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As a young person, we tend to make decisions that impact us one way or the other. What is the decision you made as a young person that ended up having lifelong impact, even though you didn't know it would at the time?
I still believe, without a doubt, the call of ministry on my life is how I have to respond to that.
When did you know? Know?
I actually knew before I had acknowledged it. I knew about when I was 8. No, my dad died 12. Probably about 12 years old, right in that time frame, right before he passed. But I never said anything. Mm-hmm. So it was not until I was 19.
Okay.
Probably 17. But I spoke to my grandfather about it at that time, and we had a conversation, and that's when I really publicly acknowledged, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing,
right?
And that kind of thing. I was 18. I was freshman, sophomore at University of Memphis State at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of the path.
Is there a moment in your life where you can point to that God literally, you knew it was nothing but God?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah. So come on with it.
Let me tell you. And when I say I know, unequivocally, I know that it was God. And that was when the church that I serve now, I just told this story two Sundays ago.
Okay.
I was, when I got the call to come to a vacant church, I was at my grandfather's church.
Right.
And the chairman of the deacon board at the church I serve now, his son happened to be at a revival that I was preaching for my grandfather.
Right.
And he heard me preach, and he asked, could I give your name, because the church was about to have another pastor, and he was leaving. So he said, can I give your name to my dad? He's chairman of the deacon board. I said, sure, no problem. The rest is history. But what happened was when I wasn't sure where the church was. When I found out where it was, that next morning, and I'm cutting across the field, but I get up, I go to this church, get out, go to the back lot, and kneel on my knee, get on my knees and pray. That next Sunday, when I sat down in what was called the pastoral chair, fast forwarding, they end up calling me, to this church. That's what they call it. And that next Sunday, when I get there to preach, it was the last sermon that I preached for them. I knew that I had been engulfed by the Spirit of God. No doubt in my mind that was where I was supposed to be. It was a spirit of peace that was beyond my imagination. And I'm telling you this. I know this to be a fact that this is where God had ordained for me to be, because he gave me a sweet, sweet, sweet peace. And the church has had phenomenal growth. I had great people in the church. It was a good mixture of seniors, middle-aged, and then, of course, me being 26, young people started really coming out the gazoo, And the church continued to mushroom. We went from 1 service to 2 service. Then we added on at that building, went to 3 services, with all that kind of stuff that was taking place. So God just really had his hand on us. It was definitely him, because I hadn't been in anything called church growth. All the things that I'm teaching my ministers and staff, none of that was not really popular at that time. I was really leaning and depending on God, to develop the work and all that. So that's how we were.
All right, last question of this segment. Most brothers can point to the moment when they realized they were a black man. What was that moment for you like? Hold on real quick. We're going to be right back on the journey. Our brother, Bishop Newt Ed Stevens, is going to tell us when he realized he was a black man. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the journey. That's my Muhammad Ali look.